What's up, everybody? I want to talk about this article that I seen by Pro Football Focus. Pretty much talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers trading away Joe Haden to the Green Bay Packers. Pretty much the whole idea behind the article is basically the Packers, I guess, have been in the market for corners. They've been reaching out to different teams. In their scenario, they basically have the Pittsburgh Steelers trading Joe Haden to the Green Bay Packers for a fifth round pick, which I think is like completely ridiculous, in my opinion. It's not going to happen. And then another scenario was like Eric Ebron and James Washington for other very, very low round draft picks. I just don't see it. I mean, all those players are free agents next season. And I wouldn't mind like trading James Washington, but I honestly don't think the return value, you're going to get a good return value for James Washington. I'm surprised James Washington caught barely any snaps last night against the Seattle Seahawks, or the night before against the Seattle Seahawks, which was kind of crazy to me, especially without Juju Smith-Schuster being in the game and being pretty much out for the season. And James Washington wasn't even in the game at all, which was very surprising to me. He had a pretty decent season last year. He had like 500 yards, something like that, 400 yards, something like that, with not a lot of reps, to be honest. So he's a pretty good fourth receiver on the roster. I mean, he doesn't get enough credit. Dude's got some talent. He can run, I'd say, pretty much any route in the route tree, but I just don't see the Steelers trading this guy. I don't see the return value being. Maybe we get like, what are we going to really get for James Washington? Not much. Like what they this every scenario, even like Joe Haden, they were saying that we're going to get like a fifth round pick. Like Joe Haden, that's absolutely ridiculous. There's no way Pittsburgh is going to trade Joe Haden. I don't care if he is a free agent next year. Joe Haden's a baller. This defense needs Joe Haden, and Joe Haden is not going to go anywhere. It's a long season. Injuries happen, and you need these players. What if Chase Claypool gets hurt? What if Deontay Johnson gets hurt? We're gonna need James Washington to step up. You need quality depth pieces like that on your roster in case injuries happen. Look at the Baltimore Ravens. I can't believe how well the Baltimore Ravens are doing right now. Their injury list is insane. They have like 17 people on injury list, and they just smashed the Chargers. So you got to have depth on your roster. And Pittsburgh is somewhat of a deep team. They got a deep wide receiving core. They got a deep defensive line. I mean, we lose Tyson Alualu for the year. Stephon Tuitt has been out since the beginning of the season. Wormley comes in, steps up, plays well. Cam Hayward's doing what he does. And then we got that 99 coming in. I don't even know that 99 dude's name. He comes in there, makes plays. We got a deep defensive line, in my opinion, and deep linebacking core now. That trade for Joe Sherbert was a good trade for Pittsburgh. He's been coming in there making plays, making tackles, and we got a deep secondary. We had a hell of a draft this year. Big Pat out of Penn State, Najee, Dan Moore. Like, there's multiple rookies starting on this offense, second-year players starting on this offense, third and fourth-year players starting on this offense. So, to me, you just got to roll with the punches right now. It doesn't look perfect. It was bad game against the Raiders, bad game against the Bengals, teams that, everybody thought Pittsburgh was going to win those games, but we didn't. The Raiders, I think, are playing above expectation this year. The Bengals, I mean, they were getting a lot of hype. Some people were going to say they were winning 7, possibly win 6, 7, 8 games this year. I mean, their offensive line's improving. They've been putting draft capital to their offensive line early in the draft, and the Bengals are here to play. And the Ravens, I can't believe how good the Ravens are doing given all their injuries. And some of the players they lost in offseason, they lost a lot of talent on defense, but the Ravens are still getting it done, and they're one of the best teams in the league. As much as I hate to say it, the Ravens are one of the best teams in the league right now, especially after Buffalo losing to Tennessee. So this AFC race is wide open. Pittsburgh is tied for the third wild card spot right now. So to think or even suggest that Pittsburgh is going to trade Joe Haden, it's insane to me. These Pro Football Focus people, they just get so much stuff wrong. Their ratings change every other week, every other play on these players. I just don't like Pro Football Focus. They're just total like just it's all about the numbers, and numbers aren't everything, especially for players like Cam Hayward, Stephon Tuitt. And there's numbers are important, but they're not everything at the end of the day. I mean, there's more than numbers. So I can definitely see Pittsburgh honestly winning like at least 9 more games on this, at least 9 games this year, the way it started. I mean, we got a tough schedule, but Cleveland is hurt big time right now, and they're going up. They got to play Baltimore, Cincinnati, or they got to play the Broncos. Cincinnati has to play Baltimore. So it's going to be an interesting week in football coming up. Steelers are on a bye, so we get to watch two division rivals go at it in the AFC North. The two top dogs in the AFC North right now, the Cincinnati Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens, go at it. And the very, very hurt Cleveland Browns team. They got injuries on the offensive line. Both their running backs are hurt. Baker Mayfield's banged up. They have injuries to their secondary. I honestly think the Broncos are going to upset Cleveland, especially with their offensive tackles out in the game. They have some of the best offensive tackles in the league. Cleveland. They drafted Warfs like 2-3 years ago, who's a big, great offensive tackle, and they got Coughlin or whatever that other offensive tackle's name is that they got from Tennessee last year. So they got some elite offensive tackle play. And the Broncos, on the flip side, got Von Miller and Chubb, good pass rush that they can really take advantage of those injuries. And I think Cleveland is going to drop to 3-4. Baker Mayfield is playing like complete trash. As bad as Ben has looked this year, especially in the early parts of the season, the first 2-3 games of the season, he is still playing better than Baker Mayfield. Better stats than Baker Mayfield. More touchdowns, more yards. I think he only has one more interception, a better QBR, better completion percentage, and the same amount of wins. And the Cleveland Browns were supposed to be Super Bowl contenders, top 5 team in the league. They've been getting hype for the past 3-4 years. I honestly believe Cleveland is going to go ahead, go into. I don't know if it's in Denver, in Cleveland. It doesn't matter. I think Cleveland's going to lose that game. The Cincinnati Baltimore game. Obviously, I'm going to pick Baltimore in that game, but Jamar Chase has been playing great. He is a problem. He was a problem for Pittsburgh, and he's a problem for the whole league right now. The dude is close to 600 yards on the season in only 6 games. So he's basically averaging damn near 100 yards a game. So Jamar Chase is completely balling out this year. So the Cincinnati offense is a tough offense to stop. I think they still need some pieces on defense. So that's why I'm giving the edge to Baltimore. I think their defense hasn't been playing great this year, but they completely shut out the Chargers, who have an elite offense. So obviously the Ravens are starting to figure it out on defense, and the Steelers are going to start to figure it out on offense. And with the injuries to Juju, and with, you never know who's going to get injured this week, next week, the week after that. I don't even see him trading James Washington. I would be in favor of them trading James Washington, even Eric Ebron, especially Eric Ebron. If you can get a 4th or 5th round pick for Eric Ebron, I'd do it. Get Gentry in there, because Gentry is probably our best blocking tight end. Ebron can't block. Pat Freiermuth is way better at catching the ball, way tougher over the middle than Eric Ebron. Eric Ebron was just a terrible signing for Pittsburgh, in my opinion. If they can somehow get something for Eric Ebron, I'd be in favor of that. But Joe Haden, there's no way. I mean, they're making the point that what was the point? What corner? The corner Pierre has a better coverage grade than Joe Haden, but Pierre is like like the 4th corner. The 3rd sometimes plays the nickel in our rotation, so he's covering. Joe Haden's covering the best receiver on the other team. He's covering the 3rd best receiver on the team, and Trey Norwood, who was a 7th round pick, is playing elite in coverage. So, we got a deep secondary too. We got a deep team. If injuries do happen, we can keep on with that next mentality, and people can next man up mentality, and people can keep stepping up and playing good for Pittsburgh. So, yeah, I just think that's a nonsense article. They had all kinds of different trade scenarios, but I just don't see Pittsburgh making any moves unless if the only way they would trade Joe Haden is if they would get more than what he's worth. Like we need, I would say at least like a second round pick or a third round pick. If you can't get that, like a third and a fourth for Joe Haden. They said like a fifth round pick for Joe Haden. No way possible would I trade Joe Haden for a fifth round pick. No way. No way. That would be insane. Joe Hayden's our best corner, and he's been shut down. He has like the most in the past 10 years. Joe Haden has the most pass deflections in the NFL in the past 10 years, and he's top 10 in interceptions too. So getting rid of Joe Hayden's nonsense. Even James Washington, I don't see it. Even though all these players' contracts are up, Pittsburgh just doesn't tank. They don't tank. And that's what breeds winning. That's because people want to come and play for Pittsburgh. TJ Watt took less to play for Pittsburgh. Juju Smith-Schuster took less to play for Pittsburgh because players know that Pittsburgh's going never say die, and they're going to do everything in their power to compete game in, week out, week in, week out, week out. And they're never going to say die. And there's no reason to say die. There was no reason for I mean, obviously, as a fan, you want to see your team beat the Ravens. You want to see your team beat the Bengals. But this fan base completely overreacted. They acted like the world was falling because we started out 1-3. I mean, it's the early part of the season. Now we're starting to get it together. The offense definitely should have did better against Seattle. Seattle has the worst defense, historically bad defense. The offense should have did better, but they were able to get the job done. And the defense made plays when they had to make plays. So, yeah, I think it's just ridiculous. And Cleveland is about to be last in the division. I predict the Broncos to win. I predict the Ravens to win. But hey, if Cincinnati gets that win, the Ravens go down a notch. In this division, the Ravens will be a game back of the Ravens going into a game with Cleveland, a banged up Cleveland team with a very healthy, fresh team coming off the bye to take on Cleveland. And I think we will get this win. Their defense has been getting exposed. Najee's starting to get it going. You just got to be patient with this offense, Steeler Nation. Ben's not used to playing under center. We're transitioning back to a power offense. And that's why if anybody gets traded, I think it should be Eric Ebron. Because he can't block. We need some more blocking tight ends in there, like Gentry. Maybe if we trade Ebron, get a pick for Ebron. I think who's that boy out of he used to play for Chicago and the Colts. He's still free. Trey Burton. I said the Steelers should sign Trey Burton in the offseason because he was at one point in the time PFF's highest graded run blocking tight end in the NFL. So then you got Freiermuth, the starting tight end, Gentry, or you go Burton, Gentry. You got two big blocking tight ends in there, and we got to go with this power offense. I don't like Ray McCloud. They have these like power offenses with Ray McCloud in there, basically lined up as a tight end, which I think is like crazy. I don't understand why I know why they're trying to do it. They did it in a game yesterday. They did that jet sweep with Johnson, and it worked for 25. He picked up 25, but I just don't like it. I'd rather see him spread it out, or if you're going to go out of the power and put some blocking tight ends in there and establish a run game. You know, they was even doing it on a goal line, putting Ray McCloud in there as a tight end. If you're on a goal line, there shouldn't be a trick. There should be no trick about it. You should be able to line it up and smash the ball into the end zone. So I don't like it. I know why they're doing it. It worked the other night against Seattle, but like if you're on a goal line, there's no reason to have Ray McCloud in there lined up a tight end. You're better off setting him out wide and just throwing him a screen than putting him on a line and having him make him think that he's blocking. Like that's just such a bad. I don't like that formation that they run, but it's a new offense. Ben's learning. We're transitioning. Ben's used to spreading it out and running and gunning and really not having barely even a running back, hardly ever in the backfield, just 5 wide out of the shotgun. I like seeing him under center, even though we had a good offense in the first half. Second half, the offense kind of died off. So we need to have two-half consistency with the offense, more time of possession, more ball control. And, we just got to stick to it. You got to be patient and stick to what we're doing. The offensive line's young. They're going to get better. And there's no need to panic. There's no need to trade anybody. If anybody should get traded, I'd say it's Eric Ebron. Go sign another blocking tight end. You got to keep Washington. And there's no way in hell that Pittsburgh will trade Joe Haden. There's no way, unless they get a major haul in return for Joe Haden. He's too valuable to this defense. Way too valuable to this defense to trade for a fifth-round pick or whatever bullshit they were trying to say in their article. So I want to talk about this, talk a little bit about the AFC North, talk a little bit about the game the other night and how I see this season going and how the Pittsburgh Steelers always go. They never say die. They never give up. They keep on fighting. And that's why you got to buy into the brand. That's why I'm a diehard fan, because no matter what, they're going out there and doing everything they can to try to win. And they're not going to quit. They're not going to trade away all their players and just tank and say, oh, we're just going to give up on this season and come get them next year, boys. Pittsburgh will never do that, and we're just too proud of a franchise to ever do that. That's why we've had 3 head coaches in the past, 50 years? We're the excellence of the NFL. I'm sorry, the Patriots, they can suck a dick because they're nothing. All they got is an asterisk on their record. So I wanted to talk about this article a little bit, and there's going to be more content coming throughout the week. Like I said, Cleveland's going to be last in the division. They're losing Denver. I'm predicting it now. Denver's getting the upset. Cleveland's going down. They're about to drop to 4th in the AFC North, where they deserve to be, in the basement, where they're always at, in the basement, the Cleveland Clownies. And we'll see what Cincinnati can do against Baltimore. And then we just got to take care of business against the Browns. And then we got the Bears and the Lions. Think we can go on a network, rip off some wins here, baby, and really, really get back into this picture. So here we go, Steelers. Like I said, if you haven't hit the like, and hit the subscribe button if you stayed with me for this long.